G'day guys, welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC, or should I call it Chonky's Machine Shop? No, that's not being nice to myself. It's a case of make a tool, to build a tool, to grind a tool, and I'm the fool. Several years ago I bought these El Cheapo cast iron angle plates, and instead of 1/2 inch holes they got 12.2 or 12.3 mil grooves in them, slots, whatever. And I just went to mount them up on my Clarkson to extend the use of the Spindexer. I've had a bit of a thought that I thought you guys might like to see, and bugging me the T-bolts won't fit, and I'm scratching around for smaller T-bolts. I thought, for God's sake man, after all of these years, machine the bloody grooves to take 1/2 inch bolts. It's only going to be a 15-20 minute job each ankle plate once I'm set up, so it's something we should do. I'll give you a good reason to hang around. I've been thinking about expanding what I was doing with the Spindexer, grinding those zero angle drills, and suddenly I realised that all the Spindexer needs to be a really useful tool is a couple of elbow mounting plates. And I thought, well, have I got some around? And then I thought, you don't have any of that, you bloody fool. Just an angle plate mounted up, a protractor will tell you what angle you're at, and you can turn a $130 tool into a $1,000 reasonable workhead. At least that gets you guys up and tool and cutter grinding a little bit easier and a hell of a lot cheaper. So I'll get set up, start doing this, bring you back and bore you for a couple of seconds, and then once that's all finished we'll go over to the TNC grinder and mount it back up. So I'll bring you in when we get some cutting done. Okay guys, back again. Just got you with the internal mic, so the audio will go a bit shitty when we engage the motor. I think these slots are as cast, and luckily I've got a cheap and nasty Chinese 4-flute carbide centre cutting end mill in there, and I take my hat off to them. I paid about $8 each for them, I think, and I only ever bring them out when there's a shitty job like this to do, and they do the shitty job and they go back in a plastic container, back into the box, and Bob's your uncle. They're good stuff. But yeah, take my hat off to them. They make a cheap cutter. Or is it the fact that we're just paying way too much for cutters we get elsewhere? So I'll make some noise. I can only take light cuts. You can see it's a very sketchy clamping setup, but let's give it a go. The shocks aren't even parallel to the axis of the right angle plate, but they were also one of the cheapies. That's a bit of a fact when you're a hobbyist. You can't really afford to put more money into your accessories. Buying the milling machine is only part of it. I was very lucky I got this milling machine with a little bit of tooling. It had quite a good Albrecht chuck that lasted all of about one working hour, I suppose, and then it locked up. Couldn't get the thing undone, unable to take the cover off it, so it's just gathering dust somewhere around the shed. Let's see if that's right. I might be going the wrong way. No. I know the vice is trammed in, so the slots are all a bit skew-ripped, but as I said at the opening, this should have all been done years ago, because then I wouldn't be doing it now. See what it's cleaning up like. But I would say it's in the as cast because it's all full of bags on the inside. And a lot of what is coming out is shite. That can't be right, showing less than when I started on it. 12.6, I just missed by a little bit. So we'll do a bit more. It doesn't like dwelling in this stuff, it gets one hell of a chatter up. Sneak this out. And even though it's reasonably hard, this cutter is just tearing its face off. Shows I'm about a thou oversized. I thought I should have been a bit more than that by now. Oh no. 3 or 4 thou clearance, that'll do. Okay, suck all the dust up, start again. Only got 1.5 plates to go. Bring you back in later on. G'day you lot, back again. This is day 2 of the saga. I've had the angle plates, both of them up on the mill, and it wasn't too arduous a job. The little 8mm carbide in mill chewed through it as long as I didn't try and brutalise it. It was a hell of a draft from the casting process, and that was one of the main problems. I had a lot of dags going into the slots, preventing the bolts going in, but they're all open out now to clearance on 1/2 inch. And I'm glad it's over. I hate working with cast iron. It clagged up the vacuum cleaner, the vice, and covered me in shite. Anyway, a distance shot of what we did, and I'll be bringing you in from all angles. I didn't realise just how easy this was going to be to set up. The only real advantage I have over you guys that don't have a tool and cutter grinder really is the slide. The table movement makes it dead easy for me to set this up. But if you think a little bit, if you set a bench grinder up on a bench with a block of wood in front of it sliding against a piece of 4x2 clamped to the bench, you've got a slide. Rise and fall on the grinder, just a pivoting base. It's not really rocket science, so if you want to grind tools at home, don't let the thought hold you back. And this I hope will show you that a $130 Spindexer can do what we were doing 2 days ago with 0-angle drills. You can grind the end of slot drills with it, end mills, and now we're going to thin the web of a 12mm drill, and then in a later operation we'll dub that same drill for brass. So you get to see a proper dubbing operation and split pointing. You probably could 4-facet with it if you swung it around at 90 degrees, and that is one advantage with this Clarkson, in that it has a top table and a sub table, so you can swing it around, but you really need that to get any real estate. It's such a small table grinder that for a lot of things it's pretty bloody useless. But anyway, the angle plate is now bolted to the top table. I've got one bolt in the bottom mounting hole for the Spindexer, and that's all I could get in. The bolt pattern didn't line up for any others, so I've got a lockjaw clamp on the top, and just coincidentally it's at the 30-degree indexing point, but it doesn't matter what one you start off with, you just rotate 180 degrees around to the opposite flute, so that's not difficult either. I haven't set it back to any set angle, although I will measure that with my protractor, and that brings you in with your angular accuracy. You just set off the 2 straight sides here, whatever angle you want. I just put in sufficient room to be able to grind the up near the web of the drill to split the point a little bit. And it's a shame this drill hasn't been ground down far enough to get to the thick web part, but you'll still see what you have to see. I think it's going to work reasonably well. So I'll bring you in, give you a look, and I'll get a protractor and check that angle. Okay, here we are in on the left hand side. I just used my engineer's protractor, put it around the right way and measured it at 15 degrees. So this is tilted back at 15 degrees from the horizontal, and if you haven't got one of these, I suggest you buy it. They're a bloody useful piece of equipment. PROL, protractor large. Quite good. So you can see from here, that's the dividing plate. I'm around on hole number 30 just by coincidence. I've got the TNC grinder set up so I can pass through, and I'm going to be grinding on the back of the flute a little bit, not that that matters. Just got to be careful you don't hit the collet, or collet nut rather. So it's quite a reasonably easy action. One problem I do find with the Clarkson, the V-waves are quite small, and because you cantilever a lot of load off the side of the table when you're doing this kind of operation, you can get a little bit of chatter and vibration in the table movement, although today it's been quite nice to me. Okay, I'll bring you around the other side and you can see the workings from there. And here we are from the other side. You can see the rough clamping setup, but reasonably simple. I'll do a bit of a test grind to make sure the process works, and then I'll try and zoom you in and see how close I can get you to the action. Okay, back soon. I'll try not to interfere with the process and give you a bit of a look at what's happening. You can see I'm starting to form the notch there, and I'm just taking 3 thou at a time and then rotating the drill. I've got to take that 3 thou. Okay. Except for me fumbling a bit, you can see how simple the process is, and I'll try and bring you around to show you what the point of the drill looks like now. Okay, you can just pick up the notch and the point of the drill, and really that's all you need to relieve the end of the drill so you don't have such a fat web to get through. Not a bad process. I'll try and zoom you out now. Very little grinding force required. Clean the camera right out. Yes, that's a bit better. You can see what I've been holding on to at the back end here. I did make one horrible mistake, and that was in indexing here, because I'm taking off number 30 on the dial, which is really 300 degrees, not 30 degrees. I had 60 to go to get to 0, not 30. So the coordinates I finished up with are 30 on the dial here and 120 on the other side. That brings the other facet around, with the pin dropping in over here. So it's not too bad to use. It's not fast, it's not a production item, but at least it gives you a drill point that's been thinned. Now what I'll do is I'll turn it clockwise. The cutting edge is now about 3 to 5 degrees anti-clockwise from grinding on the side of the wheel. So you still keep the original edge with this, but you thin the point. Now the next step is I'll come around a few degrees clockwise, and then I'll grind the cutting edge on that face, on the rake face, and that will give it a 0 angle on the cutting edge. And after I do that, I'll bring you in while that's happening if I can. And after I do that, I'll try and get a close-up on the drill bit, but close-ups on camcorders of me just don't go hand in hand. But it shows the versatility of something. That's a $30 special. Sorry, plus the angle plate. That was probably about $40 each. Bring you back when I get this job done. Okay guys, this is about as close as I can get before I fuzz out. It's a shame these camcorders are set up to pick up faces and not drill bits. But you can see the facet clearly ground on the front of that drill. There it is reflecting. And just to the right end of the facet is a little notch that's ground in there. So I know it's a lot of farting about, but this gives you quite an accurate drill. And also this sort of drill is very good for really tough materials like bisalloy wear plate, although I would probably put about 5 degrees rake into it for bisalloy. Now I'll bring you back out again. Now there's been a lot of talk about rake angles and how you alter them, and it really isn't all that difficult. On something like a twist drill, the rake angle is the helix angle of the flute. Okay, that bit inside there. This is a fairly old drill, so it would be set, I would say, at about 18 degrees. Now we've ground the cutting lip so that it's parallel to the axis of the drill or in line with the drill. And to change the angle of the rake, all you do is change the angle of the drill as applied to the side of the wheel. And for that I would just twist the top table that there's brackets on. So that makes it quite easy. You go clockwise to increase the rake angle, anti-clockwise to decrease it. So don't be scared about sharpening high-speed steel tools, and especially items for special purposes. Once you get to know a little bit about what you need to do to get it to work properly for that material, it's not that frightening, and just taking a couple of thou at a time on a Clarkson, it's a very easy job to do. But this Spindexer, you could use a round to square tool holder, and all you need to do there is get a piece of round, cut it in half lengthwise so it goes over your square, and you can mount your square inside the holder in a collet and grind your tool bits. So we're just thinking a bit about it. These are very, very universal and a cheap way to set up. Okay, that's all there is for this episode. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and a big shout out to the US of A. You are the greatest number of subscribers I have, more so than Australia, surprisingly. 20.8% from one place, so yeah, happy with that. If you've got any inquiries, don't worry about putting a comment down there. I have no problems at all answering what people put down there. Sometimes I do get some silly queries, but yeah, no problems whatsoever. I'll give you an answer if I've got one. I'm coming up to 2,000 subscribers, which I couldn't hold that in. I was 4 off this morning. And it'll be a big milestone for me, and it gives me a good reason to put a bit more effort into try and get these videos up. So I'm back to using the old camcorder until I figure out the Panasonic. It's being a little bit of a mystery bag. Make the factory reset and try again, ordering one setting at a time. But look, you can do quite a lot with these machines, and a lot of people have for a lot of years. You just have to think a little bit. Okay, have what's left of your weekend a good time. Bye. There you are, guys, the promised close-up. Sorry, I couldn't get better than that. Things reflect a little too much and it throws the focus out. See you later.